Hi, everybody, and welcome to Pop Therapy, a podcast where we explore the intersection between psychology and pop culture. There's so much to unpack, so let's get started. Well, look who's back if it isn't my legion of followers. Hi, everybody, this is Omar, your friendly neighborhood therapist, and I'm going to talk about something heavy, just to give you a little bit of a heads up. So I noticed this sort of like collective traumatic response as the Epstein files were released, or as a portion of all the files were released. And full disclosure, it fucked me up. Full disclosure, it really messed with my head. And I didn't even read all of it. I didn't even read everything that were in the files. It was, I don't know, like maybe 20 minutes worth, 30 minutes worth altogether of me reading through some of the emails. And my anxiety was through the roof. I felt this almost like an anxious buzzing in my body. I was just constantly experiencing this like low grade physical like shaking, not debilitating or disruptive shaking, but just like nerves shaking. I had trouble sleeping for 2 days. It really messed with my head. And I saw a lot of folks talking about having similar experiences. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about what I did to help me through that process, what I did to help me regulate when I felt so upset and so incredibly sad and so incredibly anxious, and in the hopes that it helps someone else out there. You know, so first and foremost, you got to name the emotion that you're experiencing, and you have got to sort of take stock of the physical sensations that you're experiencing. So naming emotions like anxiety, I'm feeling anxious right now, and then talking about how it feels in your body. I feel a heaviness in my stomach. I feel butterflies. I feel a tightness in my chest. I feel really sort of like hyper, almost like energized, but anxious energy, that kind of energy. And noticing things like sweating, or noticing things like I feel really lethargic. I feel really tired. I'm yawning a lot. What that does is that it puts you in the driver's seat of this entire experience. It's metacognition, right? It's zooming out and doing almost like a third person audit of what is going on for you. And that puts you in the driver's seat, and it mitigates any risk of spiraling or of getting swept up completely in the emotion. So that was the first thing that I did multiple times, mind you. Okay, this wasn't something I did once. This was something that I sprinkled throughout the day, especially as I noticed the feeling or as I noticed the physical sensation. Next, a creative outlet can be so helpful in moments like this, to write about what you're feeling or experiencing, to write poetry, or to listen to music, or any creative outlet to help you process through it is going to make such a significant difference. So keep that in mind. Anything from reading to music to painting to just like any art to help you process this, I implore you to please engage with that part of your brain. Do not process alone is the next thing. It's really important, and it's just like so crucial, especially now, to find community, to find and connect with friends or family or loved ones. It's so the notion of solidarity is more important now for our mental health than it has ever been before. It is crucial that we don't experience this alone, and that we talk about it and connect with other trusted individuals who know what you're talking about, who have your best interest in mind, who are like-minded, and who are willing and have the capacity to bear witness to what's going on with you, and vice versa, right? And you can be there for them. You can be of service to them if they're experiencing something similar. So do not do this alone. The next thing I want to say is a phrase that I heard from a neuroscientist, Dr. Rachel Barr is her name. She has really good stuff on Instagram and TikTok, I think, but I mostly follow her on Instagram. And the phrase she used was, read the rest of the paper. So front page news is often incredibly provocative and salacious, and it is oftentimes, I mean, not every time, right? But headline news is often like very rage baity, very like clickbaity, and it's often like kind of horrifying. And the front page news, unfortunately, it's a lot of horrifying stuff that we're seeing. And we forget about the rest of the paper. We forget about the rest of the world or the rest of the news. And there are other things happening, not just in this country, but in the world. There is good news out there. There are people fighting the good fight and winning fights. And it's so important that you, quote unquote, read the rest of the paper. What else is going on in the world? What other exciting or lovely or touching or heroic things are happening around the world? Because they are. People are out there helping. People are out there fighting the good fight, and people are making wins. And it's so important to stay connected to that, because if all we read is horrifying headlines, if all we read is just like terrible news, our brains convince us that life is just full of terrible news, that the world is only a dark and scary place. And that is not true. So again, read the rest of the paper. Do not look into the headlines. Don't take a break from the headlines for a little bit and see what else is going on in the rest of the world, especially as it relates to progress and humanitarian stories and the helpers and people fighting the good fight. Lastly, what I did, and I don't know how helpful this will be for anybody else, I found it helpful. This is not based on any kind of research or evidence that I have done or read, so please take this with a grain of salt. But every time I felt terrible after, reading a piece of the files, a page from the files, every time I felt sad, or every time I felt anxious, or any time I felt incredibly heavy, I would remind myself that this means I am still connected to my humanity. And there's something comforting in that I haven't lost my humanity, that I still have the ability to empathize with people, that I still have the ability to care about people, that my heart is in the right place, that there's comfort in that. And I remind myself, if reading the Epstein files didn't elicit any of these reactions, I would probably be a sociopath, right? Like there would probably be something pathological going on. And it's kind of nice knowing that I'm still deeply, deeply connected to my humanity, and that I still care about what's going on, and I care about underserved people or vulnerable people. And that like, I don't know, I can look in the mirror and say, okay, well, at least you're not a sociopath. Like you still have the empathy part of you running, and you still have access to your humanity. So for what it's worth, take that with you, take whatever, right, is like useful, try it out, see how it feels. And again, these are things that I did multiple times. Anytime I felt the heaviness, I would basically run through this list of things to do. And over time, over the course of like a few days, the heaviness wasn't quite as heavy. It's still vile and horrifying, but I am not running around walking around. Let's be honest. I'm not walking around with my anxiety at a 10 anymore. So one of the things that this gets me thinking about the Epstein files and just like powerful people, powerful men, wealthy elite people, gets me thinking about it's just like systems, right? The different systems we have in place that uphold abuse, that normalize toxicity, and that normalize exploitation. And the America's Next Top Model documentary, while nothing like what I read from the Epstein files, I do think that there are aspects of it, especially when it comes to how power operates and how power functions and how power influences. I think there's a lot there that is relevant to what's going on politically. So I just finished the documentary last night, and I have some thoughts. I don't have a ton of thoughts. I don't have a ton of, to be perfectly honest with you, but I do have some. And the guest that I'm about to introduce to you, I think is the perfect person to share my thoughts with, and of course ask him his thoughts. Everybody, you are all in for such a treat. Our guest is head of partnerships, collaboration, and styling for Tommy Hilfiger. He's also a co-founder of Creatives Want Change, which is a nonprofit dedicated to cultivating underrepresented creative talent. Please welcome into your hearts my dear friend and kind of like style inspiration and style icon, Randy Cousin. Hi.
Hi. We did it. How long
did it. I mean, like, I feel like we've been planning this for a year. At least 8 months. I feel like at least 8 months. We've been we got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. But you're a busy girl. I get it. You're a busy girl.
I am up in the air. I am all around with the best intentions. I wanted to do this. And it literally took us being at the same birthday party.
Yeah, that's
not in New York, but in Miami to say, hey, when are we doing the podcast?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was in Miami that we were finally like, okay, we are going to do this. Like, we're going to figure this out.
That's what we did it. But can I just say?
Yes.
Start. I am so proud of you.
Oh, Randy.
I have to say it. Everybody who knows me knows how much I adore my friends. You guys lift me up, and I see what you've done. I mean, to think about how you looked at this as a dream that you wanted to do. I mean, I'm so proud of not only what you've done in your profession, but look at this, and to hear you speak so passionately about it. I think you're just going to uplift lives, change lives, make people smile.
So. That is so lovely, Randy. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I look up to you, especially professionally. I just think everything that you do, you're so passionate. You're so driven. It really is like watching an Energizer bunny, just like go, 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 go. And I am like, where does he find? You're older than me and you have way more energy than I do. And I'm like, how does he do it?
Look at my skin. You would never know.
I know. You would never know. You would never know. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. So I know we texted about the America's Next Top Model documentary last night. You said when we texted, you were just starting episode 2. I believe. Did you finish? Did you end up finishing it?
I did not. I had to take a break. I'm not going to. I honestly, you and I were texting. I got to the end of episode 2 and I said, I just have to walk away from
this. You need a break. Okay. Did it feel like, because it was a little too close to home being in the fashion world, or was there other reasons behind why you're like, I need a break from this?
No, I mean, it's funny. I just think that we can all acknowledge that like fashions change and like, and this show had just such a big cultural influence on all our lives. I mean, we all watched it, but I just think that looking at it today through a different lens, and just with how important mental health is to the conversation of everyone's lives, whether it's something personally or professionally. I mean, people always in the fashion industry want to feel seen, but at the same time, feel protected and they want to make sure that they feel like they can thrive. And I think now looking at it through a different lens, it's just so important that we not only figure out how to protect our own peace, but that we just are a bit kinder through the process. And it just
Yeah.
kind of shows me how so much has evolved since then. But and it just really shocked me looking at it now and looking
Right.
at the now that we watched it under that different lens and looking
I
at it,
know.
we definitely are like, whoa, that's not
Yeah. Yeah. It really was wild watching the documentary and remembering episodes that I had forgotten about. And I kept flashing back to me as a kid. Like when did this show air? It was like early aughts. So I was in like high school, I think. I think I was in like high school when the show first aired. So anyway, I kept having flashbacks of me as a teenager watching the show, just like glued to the television and
never missed it.
never missed it. And I remember specifically because America's Next Top Model was Tuesdays at 9, and
Oh, you really
I remember that because Buffy was Tuesdays at 8.
it
So
all comes back to Buffy.
Tuesdays
It
all
all
the
comes
time.
back to Buffy.
All the time. And so Tuesdays were like my favorite day of the week, like television wise, essentially. So I had got my Buffy fix and then my ANTM fix. And so I just like remember being a kid, being a teenager rather, watching the show and being enthralled. And then the juxtaposition between that and remembering how much I enjoyed it versus me watching it now and feeling so uncomfortable or feeling so like sad for a lot of the girls on the show when they were talking about their stories, and just like it felt so heavy. And I just kept going back and forth to teenage Omar being like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I wish I could apply, but I'm too young, versus Omar now being like, oh my God, that is brutal. What was there anything in particular? You watched the first 2 episodes. There's only 3. So you've watched most of it at this point. But what are your thoughts so far on the documentary itself? So like not necessarily like fashion at large, but the documentary itself. Is there anything that really struck you, or was there anything that surprised you, or was there anything that you were like, yeah, this is very familiar to me? Like, what do you think about what are your thoughts on the documentary so far?
Listen, I've grown up in this industry and you've seen it change and evolve so much. And I think when you have something in front of you that held such cultural significance,
Mm-hmm.
look at it in the lens now. I think so many of us look at the importance of mental health, of feeling safe and seen, what we've gone through even in the last 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
since, the amplification of the BM movement,
Yeah.
our lives have changed. And I think we all owe it to ourselves just to be more responsible and to
Yeah.
like learn from the past and to shape a better future. And it was just interesting because when you watch the characters involved, they were also equally surprised
Yeah.
in remembering what they went through. Like
Yeah.
obviously you saw that there were moments that they remember being uncomfortable in that moment, which
Right.
I could completely understand because there was so much behind the veil that we didn't see.
Right.
But I think now looking at it, it's like, whoa, like this is just, we've evolved from that. I mean, fashion's evolved, we evolve as people, we work on ourselves. And then my biggest takeaway looking at it we got to do better, like all of us, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a responsibility, no matter what industry you're in.
Right.
You have to make sure that you celebrate diversity, you celebrate people's differences, you make them feel safe and seen.
Right.
We normalize working on your mental health, being
Yeah.
able to talk about it. I used to be embarrassed to talk about mental health
Mm.
or even, or feeling unseen in the industry.
Yeah.
I don't take for granted that I'm one of very few that look like me that do what I do. And it means a lot for the next generation when they see people who look like them, who are diverse cultures, specifically when you have industries and looking at even fashion at large, where without the contributions of certain cultures
Mm.
or diverse cultures, it wouldn't exist. So
Yeah.
no matter what you do, we just gotta, protect each other's peace, but
Yeah.
also protect each other's mental health in the process. So
Yeah.
listen, the world is changing, evolve. It's interesting because when you look at it now, you're like, okay, if I wasn't affected about by this, then I would be worried.
Right, right.
I mean, it
Yeah.
means that we've all evolved and we take things differently. I think also, listen, that also happened before social media was a big thing. So,
Right.
we're always glued to the television and we didn't see so much on our phones as we do every day. But that's
Oh
not
yeah.
as the fact that, do need to change and evolve and lift each other up and
Yeah.
take each other.
I don't know if you had any thoughts about this. And this is just like, obviously this is my personal take, so take it with a grain of salt. I do think that some of the heat Tyra is getting is a little, how do it feels a little, what do I want to say? Like turned up a little too much for her. Like I think there is a degree of criticism that sounds incredibly like valid and warranted, and then there are some where I'm like, guys, I don't know. Like she was the face of the show. She was an executive producer, but she wasn't like the UPN exec, like, and she wasn't Ken Mock, who was like basically like her boss essentially. And so one of the things that struck me was that it felt like Tyra was getting way more heat, and actually it felt like she was getting harder questions or more provocative questions than Ken Mock was, and like some of the men had gotten. Did like, what do you think? What's
I didn't feel that way. I think
okay?
more than anything, my takeaway was it's like, what was your response in what you're seeing? What is your
Yeah,
takeaway?
yeah,
I think people, I mean, you and I've been sitting here talking about evolution. We've been
yeah.
talking about how we're looking at it a different lens. Like when you take a look at it today, what is your remorse for what happened? Were
Yes.
you
Yeah.
apologetic at what happened? Do you
That's
take a
fair.
responsibility and accountability? None of us are perfect,
Right.
but at the same time, what is the level of remorse and accountability you have? What we are watching, obviously, is an edit. Obviously, you and
Yeah.
I are talking about it, and we are seeing what is presented to us in real time. So, whatever you and I are talking about is literally what we are seeing on the television,
Right. It's the
whatever
tip of the
edit. But
iceberg for sure.
it's the response and
Yeah.
your takeaway. I think like you got to be the change you want to see. Full stop.
Yeah, a full. I well said. It would have been. I think it would have been helpful. Helpful maybe is the wrong word, but it would have been, for lack of a better word, helpful to see more remorse from honestly from everyone that they interviewed, including the Jays and Nigel Barker, who I feel like we're getting so close. Like there was, a moment when they were talking about, and if you haven't seen the documentary, obviously, spoiler alert. So turn this off. Yeah, I should have said. Yeah, pause now if you haven't watched, and then come
Actually,
back.
forget everything you heard. Come back
Yes.
next week.
But there's a point where Nigel and the Jays are talking about a really difficult sour experience that they had, and how upset they felt at this particular experience on the show, and how blindsided and betrayed they felt. And I was waiting for them to make the connection and say, oh, this is how the girls felt. This is how it felt to be the hundreds or so of girls that we also blindsided or mistreated or exploited. And I was waiting for them to be like, yeah, and when I was blindsided, I felt it, and then and I felt all this remorse, and now I get it. Now I get why the girls, and why so many people are speaking out now, and why so many of the girls are talking about their, mental health disorders or eating disorders or what have you. And they were so close, but they didn't quite get there. And I was a little bummed that it didn't seem like, and like you said, Randy, like we only saw what they decided to air. So maybe behind the camera and maybe on their own, they did make that connection. But I was really hoping for them to have this like aha moment on camera and say like, now I can empathize with the girls, because up until then, all they kept saying was some variation of, well, that was the time. Well, that's just like how things happen. That was just how things were done. I didn't know. I was just taking orders. And I was like, okay, but and what have you learned from this? Or like, are you reflecting deeply on this?
Accountability. It's like, what
Yeah.
did you
Yeah.
learn, and how have you grown from it, and do you take accountability for your part in it?
Right.
And then what's next? How do you help to change the narrative?
Right.
Again, I just think about it. I mean, the whole aspect of mental health was a foreign concept when I was a kid watching that show. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine even being in that age and time. Was mental health taken in consideration on set?
Mm-hmm.
These are also, contestants who, everyone feels connected to fashion and style, whether you work in the industry.
Right.
All of us do. We put on
Totally.
clothes every day. We utilize it as a badge and honor to tell our story without speaking.
Mm-hmm.
All of us want to be a part of it. And when you get that opportunity to be in it, and then you're at such like you're in your very much your formative years,
Yeah.
it's you just got to make sure that people feel, again, safe, supported, seen. And even though that was a different time, look at it in the lens of, okay, what have we learned from this? So
For
again, I
real.
really feel like if it didn't make us uncomfortable, then that means the world hasn't shifted and hasn't changed. And
Right.
we individually, you and I talking, haven't grown. And
Right.
I completely looked at it differently. There are moments that reminded me how uncomfortable I felt
Okay. Yeah.
when I watched it back in the day. I think you know the parts I'm talking about without
Right.
talking about the parts.
Right.
I even now more than ever, I was like, "What were you thinking?"
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting to also hear some of the Mr. J also say that as well.
Yeah.
This didn't make me feel comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and
I thought that was poignant because what I was also really interested in hearing them and Mr. J talk about was just sort of reflecting on like, so what do you think it means that you felt this uncomfortable? Your gut was telling you something is up, but you did it anyway. Like let's reflect on that, because I think that that's something that we're all capable of. We're all capable. We all have the capacity to feel gross about something, but also feel like we have no other choice but to like proceed forward. And hopefully we're not constantly dealing with that, with these like ethical issues. But I can understand why someone like Mr. J might have felt like, listen, I was a gay man of color on television, and like I deprioritized my own ethics because I wanted to make money and I wanted to get my bag and I wanted financial security. And I can see that now. I can see how unethical that was, or I can see how money and power and fame can actually get you to reprioritize your values. And I can see how I did that now. And I was hoping for those moments of like reflecting a little bit deeper on what was going on, and why did you ignore that little voice that was telling you this is a bad idea.
yeah, and we will only know what they tell us. I think
Right.
what we can understand and look at today is like, what is your response now? And I think
Yeah.
that is what we're kind of looking at. And if you look at all the different individuals, I think showing that remorse, or what part you played into the whole narrative,
Yeah.
and how have you changed since then? I was really missing that. I didn't
Same.
really feel
Agreed. Yeah.
that came through. And
Yeah.
that's literally why I had to take a break, because listen, I think we've all seen the memes. Everything today is so instantaneous. You get
Right.
an idea with the build up that this is going to be something that you need to see. I think also given the cultural significance of the show and how
Yeah.
it's kind of like, think about it. It was a historical turning point. Like
100%.
Ira being, one a very successful model of color
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
really drove to get that show on television
Right.
and changing a difference. I thought it was equally interesting though in achieving that feat, how much the show changed from season 1 to
Oh yeah.
season 2. And then it
Oh
was just
yeah.
off to the races. Because you remember back in the day, remember like Fear Factor and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
World Rules Challenge? It was like
Right. Right.
it's like, you know the kind of you know that phrase where they say the show jumped the shark? It
Yeah.
definitely jumped the shark last season.
Yeah.
I mean, Fonzie
Oh
was on the
yeah.
motorcycle and it was over the club into the diner. I
Yeah.
was it was interesting because I think there was definitely a time where I think we all kind of backed away from it, where it just kind of felt like, okay, this is a little bit too novel. Also,
Right.
equally, it just didn't feel like what you always. I think when with that was kind of like at the not the turning point, like at the beginning of when reality television was just up there, right? And
Right.
I mean, I remember back in the day when I was a kid when it was like the real world
That
at
was
that
it.
point.
Yeah. For me, it was like real world, road rules, the challenge, and then
It
America's
sounds
Next Top Model.
right.
Yeah.
And then
That
America's Next
was
Top
it.
Model.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she
That was
was at
it.
like the beginning of it. And I just
Yeah.
think that, making that decision that you got to be competitive with those shows. And then it almost kind of took it a novelty outside of the fashion arena.
Yeah.
And in the end, like you want to root for these individuals who just have a dream, who are just trying to like
Yeah.
who have a personal story, who want to be a part of the fashion industry. And it was
Yeah.
just like, to me, it was just really sad to see that what they had hoped for and what they expected out of the experience was nowhere
Ye-
near that. So then what is
right.
the remorse on that on the other side?
Yeah.
And how did maybe the show take a turn that it shouldn't have taken? And listen, it is television, but
Yeah.
it's just that I think for all of us, it's like, whoa. And listen,
Yeah.
I got to look at episode 3. I also really feel like I need to watch it again. Like anything, I like
Yeah.
to dig in again just
Okay.
because I'm really sure that there's parts where I was like, oh, and
Sure.
my
Yeah.
mouth,
Yeah.
like, I'm like,
Yeah. That's
right now,
fair.
but let me
Yeah.
get
That's
through.
fair.
It was so funny you text me because I was like, is anybody else watching this? I feel
Oh
like I'm
my
the last to
gosh.
watch it. And you're
Yeah.
like, no, I'm
Yeah. I felt like I was lagging too, though. I was right there with you. Did one of the girls, one of actually, I think it was like the season 2 winner, Danielle. I think it was season 2 or cycle 2 winner, Danielle. She's like the from Arkansas. She's the one that they wanted her to close her gap. Did you see her yet in the documentary? Just a quick note. She's so gorgeous. Every time she came on screen, I like gasped a little bit at how unbelievably stunning
yeah.
she looked. I was like, I don't know if she's still modeling now. I'm not sure if that's something she even wants to pursue. But in my head, I said, if you wanted to pursue modeling now, you absolutely could and you absolutely should. I mean, I was like, oh my God. Like, anyway, she looks stunning for what it's worth.
I just wanted to know what all of them were doing today because we followed their lives and you want to hope that on the other side, something positive
Yeah.
happened for them. Like even Ebony, it was just amazing to see.
Yeah.
I mean, for her to be, in that show, she was like one of two black girls on the show
Yeah.
that
And gay and out. And yeah. Yeah.
partner was on television. I mean, think of the time and the bravery of that. And
Yeah.
at the same time, looking back on it, on some of the challenging experiences she had, like with
Yeah.
the makeover challenge, it's just,
Yeah.
like that just goes to show. It's it's important with every industry, specifically in the fashion industry. We just create a more diverse makeup of what happens in front of and behind the camera so that
Right.
people feel seen, whether you're cutting their hair, whether you're doing their makeup, whether you're helping them with their lines or a
Yeah.
script. It's so important
Yeah.
because, okay, a lot of diverse makeup of society. What are we?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
And I mean,
three.
and what was that?
I got to watch episode 3.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You have to watch episode 3. Some of your questions will be answered. Some of the things you brought up will be answered in episode 3. So I'm excited to hear
I need a
your
part 2
thoughts.
podcast
Yeah.
so
A
we can
part 2
talk about it.
episode. But
Though, there's going to be another one. I
that
think.
on E, yes. And this one
Look at us.
looks
Yeah.
and this one from the very few clips I've seen, the very few promotions I've seen, looks like scalding. I mean, it looks like a searing takedown of the show, where where Netflix felt a little bit more diplomatic, a little bit, diplomatic. That's the word. And this E one looks like brutal. Like they are going for the jugular. So it'll be interesting to see that and to compare the two.
Come back for a part two of this conversation after
Yes.
you documentary.
Right. Yeah. Of
So
course. Of
if you haven't
course.
watched it yet, come back.
Yeah, come back. So I wanted to segue, if you don't mind,
Oh my God.
into talking a little bit more about your role at Tommy Hilfiger. So for those who don't understand, expand a little bit more on your role there and your day to day, and just like what do you oversee? What is it like for you, and what do you oversee, and what's the day to day like?
I mean, it's a big question. There is no day to day, but
Okay.
I kind of pinch myself because it's every day is a little bit different and crazy, but I love what I do.
Yeah.
Anytime we as a brand, do fashion collaborations or partnerships. So, whether it's our partnership and collaboration with Formula One, the movie, or talent that we work with, whether it's been Shawn Mendes or Gigi Hadid or Sophia Richie, or even our most recent partnership with Cadillac Formula One. It's all about connecting, and we're working with great partners where you bring the world and codes of the Tommy Hilfiger brand with our partner, and you just create magic through product, storytelling, and energy, not only for the culture, but for the brand. I mean, I also get an opportunity to style for the brand, which is a pinch me moment because I've always
That is
loved
so
fashion.
cool.
It's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And I talk about that all the time. I mean, I've had an opportunity to work on 5 Met Galas and run the creative direction for that with my amazing team who's so passionate and who I learn from each and every day. My pinch me moment after my 5th Met Gala was, working with Damson Idris and taking, the original race uniform that he wore from Formula One, the movie,
Uh-huh.
and it exposed the stuff that's a beautiful red.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, to imagine how much I held my breath because we had one shot to get that right, and I'm
Right.
watching it.
There were
And then
no
you get
there were no reshoots for that one,
there
huh?
were no reshoots, no re-edits.
Yeah.
It was a one and done.
Wow.
Which
Yeah.
it's just so amazing, and having an opportunity to style campaigns and to work with the Liverpool Football Club, just work with them and styling their walk-in uniforms and
Hmm.
being able to work with the likes of Zendaya or John Legend or Doechii or SZA. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
dream pinch. It really is a dream pinch me moment. I mean, I
Yeah.
love fashion and style since I was a kid, and it's crazy growing up with this brand and just be so influenced by like 90s music and culture
Hmm.
as a kid. Always saving up my little coupon so that I could buy a new Tommy fit for picture day, and being able to now work with
Yeah.
the brand and the band is just like, I mean, come on. So
Yeah.
yeah, I always feel really great. I always feel a lot of gratitude for that, where I am in my life, because I know that, growing up in the hood of Youngstown, Ohio, like I could only dream to work in this industry,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I never knew or understood until I started to research the industry and look at the likes of. I used to steal my mom's old Vogue magazines, by the way, and just dream and
Oh, that is so cute. A little baby
and
Randy flipping through Vogue.
it's
That is
crazy. I
adorable.
remember I used to steal my mom's Vogue magazine. She's probably like, "Where are they?"
Yeah.
And they were, bro, they were all in my room.
Yeah.
Y'all went to sleep. I
All
was looking
right.
at Andre Leon Talley and his big, beautiful like outfits and colors.
Yeah.
It was just, and I'm like, I gotta work in this industry, and I mean, it was just like kind of like a full circle moment. I still can't believe I'm here.
What do you think it was about fashion that spoke to you as a kid, that at such a young age, to feel so connected to it, or to feel so like just like almost like I don't know, like awoken by it or something? What do you think you were connecting to at such a young age?
I think it just was an opportunity to dream,
Mm,
something bigger.
yeah. Okay.
Not easy. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't realize or understand that like opportunities like this existed or that this world existed. And I
Yeah.
think in a lot of ways, you think when you look around you in your current environment that it's not for you. And
Right.
when I looked into that world, I was a little bit like, no, 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 this is for me.
Yeah.
And if I can see people who look like me doing what I want to do, and that's why I think it's just so important that, you create a more diverse environment even in
Right.
this industry, because I think, you never know that young kid who's looking at that next figure who's so inspired by, like, wow, if someone who looks like me can do this, I can do that too. And
Right.
that for me, that was Andre Leon Talia. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know who this dude was.
Right.
I remember seeing him in magazines, and then I remember when we could finally afford cable, and
Yeah.
then I saw
Yeah.
seeing his style, Elsa Clinch. I don't know if any of y'all too young for that, but like that was like, then I saw like Ralph Lauren and Tommy talking on there, and then you see
Right.
this amazing character, Andre Leon Talley, who spoke French and who worked at Vogue and knew
Right.
all the models. And in those days, like in the 90s and early 2000s, like the models were it.
Mm-hmm.
Naomi,
Mm-hmm.
Missy Turlington, Cindy Crawford, and
Yeah.
just and I always talk about like the 90s and 2000s, specifically the 90s. It's kind of like our Renaissance if you think about it, because
Right.
music was dope.
Right.
It was this element of reinvention. Janet Jackson, every time she came out with a new album, she changed, her style, and it
Yeah.
all worked and it evolved. And what that emotion, like, just as much as the music gave a heartbeat,
Yeah.
fashion gave a heartbeat, and
Right.
it connected with you. And it said, okay, I want to be a part of this. I don't know how I'm going to be a part of this, but I want to be a part of this. But it shouldn't be a shock. My mom she was really big into fashion, and she used to sew all of my Halloween costumes.
Oh,
And
that's so lovely.
shout out to Joanne Fabric. She would go and she would get
Joe and Fabrics.
yo.
We
She
wouldn't have done it without you. We couldn't have done it without you,
got it. Thank you,
Joanne.
Joanne. We would have done without you, but like, and it was kind of this like collaborative exercise. I think that was kind of like my first design
That
experience.
was
My
your
mom was like,
yeah, yeah.
yes, yes, like it's totally. So like, I
A
remember my mom was
hundred
like, "What do you want to
percent.
be?" I'm like, "I want to be Dracula." She said, "I'm like, and I don't want to go to the drugstore and buy it in a plastic bag. I want to like real fit.
All
Give me a
right. You're basically like, I want a couture Dracula
I want
costume
a
right
made to
now.
measure bespoke Dracula cape.
Oh my God.
I want my makeup done by Matt."
That is
I'm just kidding.
so cute. Oh, that's
No,
adorable. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So
The-
I think, yeah,
I was
it's
just,
just amazing.
I was gonna note that there's so many directions that you can take in fashion, obviously. How did you end up in styling? Was that something that you always very clearly understood? That's where you wanted to go? Was it something that sort of evolved the more that you spent time in the industry? How did you get to styling?
No, it was really an evolution. I mean, I've
Yeah.
always been the type of person where I'm like, don't put me in a box. Like, I can
Yeah.
do anything.
Hmm.
And I'm really grateful to have great mentors and sponsors in my life. Mentorship and sponsorship, two different things, both important.
Hmm.
And, even with my relationship with Tommy, he's always says to me, you can do anything. You're a star. And
Hmm.
just for people to see that when you are immersed in this industry, and I tell kids this all the time, I'm like, listen, once you get in it, or even if you go to school, no matter what you do, keep dreaming. And
Yeah.
once you're in the industry, figure out your ways to like evolve your career. And I've really
Mm.
been able to do that. I mean, I've had an opportunity to be on the business side. I used to work for Abercrombie back in the day when
Right.
it was just like moose, this t-shirts, everything, it was
Fierce and yeah, yeah, yeah.
fierce, that's it. And then but I always wanted to work for one of the, great American designers. And I grew up wearing Tommy, and looking at figures like Tommy and Ralph and Perry Ellis and those brands that were just like big, not only in the fashion industry, but if you also, I've always been big into music. I'm a hip hop kid. I
Sure.
love Wu-Tang Clan, Snoop, and
Hmm.
was Snoop on Saturday Night Live wearing that Tommy Rugby, and I'm like, where can I get that?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
having an opportunity to work for like one of these great American brands, and having my career at Tommy and getting to work very closely with Tommy, and when I had my first taste of working on a collaboration that I did with Tommy and Kith, I was like that. Then I got the bug. I was like, okay, I love this aspect of creating something that feels limited edition, um, a
Ah,
moment in time. And then
okay.
that's where I just really, and I do have one thing I forgot to say is, next to my mom, I have an interior design degree. So, that whole philosophy as an interior designer really
Mhm.
kind of carried through with me into the clothing
Totally.
arena. And then from there, I just had an opportunity um, right after the pandemic to start styling. And it was really Tommy who said, "Hey, this thing called the Met Gala is coming up.
Oh my
You want to
gosh.
do it?" And
That
I
is
was like,
so crazy.
kind of
That is
paused.
wild. Wow. Wow. Wow.
I
Wow.
kind of, yeah, I kind of paused because I'm like, that is like the fashion Super Bowl, y'all. Like,
Yes.
all
Yes.
eyes globally is, can I do that?
Yeah.
What if I fail? And he's like, you won't fail.
Mm,
Anything. And
yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is where I need to start. And this has also evolved because if you talk to me now, I really say this in the most humblest way. I'm unstoppable because I think you like believe and trust in yourself. And when you start to see the product, it's helpful when you have a great mentor who reminds you of what you should
A
already see in
hundred
yourself.
percent. Yeah.
At the same time, when you start really seeing it in yourself and you look in the mirror and say, okay, I can do this, I'm unstoppable, trust my gut, then you really can take off. And that's where styling really just started to evolve for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was just looking into magazines,
Okay.
and just being inspired by music, which I still do today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
just really evolved from there. And I've just gotten the opportunity to not only style, some of our great partners and great catalysts for the brand, but to also do campaigns and,
Yeah.
at the Met Gala and also to style my friends and
Yeah.
myself every day. It's
Right.
just
Right.
I always just you trust in your skills and trust
Mm-hmm.
in how your brain works
Mm-hmm.
and ask for those opportunities and show what you can do and
Mm,
the opportunities are endless. I'm also a
yeah.
big manifestor, but I think that's
Yeah.
a much
Yeah.
longer conversation, child. I mean, we can
Sure,
go.
sure. Well, you talked a little bit about or you sort of like mentioned this idea of like the cognitive part of styling, like the process of styling, like how your brain styles. First, I wanted to ask, is there anyone when you think about some of the more memorable individuals that you styled, when you think when asked about like who is someone that comes to mind as just like just like a really memorable moment for you to style or a memorable client to style? Does anyone like immediately come to mind for you?
Oh my gosh, I did I mean, so many. I mean, styling the Wu-Tang Clan for our fashion show.
That,
Uh,
yeah. I mean,
so like,
such a
what?
full circle moment, being that you would like that you
What?
listened to them as a kid, yeah, and now
That
you're
that that
styling
that was
them.
crazy. I remember getting the call from Tommy, and he had said, "Listen, we got a little bit of a secret surprise. We're going to have the Wu-Tang Clan close our fashion show. How do you
That
feel
is
about styling them?"
so
And
cool.
he's like, very rarely are you silent.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that is
you
true.
know,
I can vouch for that. That is very true.
yes, he can. I mean that was absolutely
That must have
in.
been such like a career highlight. I mean, yeah, that's like so. That's like what a dream. Yeah, that's so
But
lovely.
it's so funny. I mean, for me, when I'm styling, I think for I want always people to feel like great and seen. I
Yeah,
also, to me, it's always like, what is the final result that we're trying to capture?
yeah,
And when I really just get into the paint, it's so funny how your brain works because I'm super organized. Like if I'm styling a campaign or if I'm working on a project, I just need everything in a row by product group and category.
yeah. Okay, okay.
And for me, I can't do it in quiet. I need to have music. I need a
Yeah.
little bit of emotion.
Okay.
And I think the music part is just like what kind of gives the energy. And I'm often inspired by, I think I'm the last person on earth who actually buys print magazines. Shout
Yes,
out
I
to
think you are.
magazines.
Yeah. Thank
And
God you're
I
keeping the lights on for them. Yeah.
I still love magazines. I love you know how much I'm always on a plane. So
Yeah.
the amount of magazines that I still buy to this day where I just tear things out. And if it's a magazine that really inspires me,
Hmm.
I'll keep it and hold on to it and really go back to reference for it. I think I remember back when Tom Ford, it's so funny, just popped in my head. I remember when Tom Ford, he was the guest artistic director for Vanity Fair. I think it was like in 2006 or 7. It was that cover. I don't know if you remember. This was for like the fashion nerds out there when it was like Scarlett Johansson and Keira Knightley on the cover, and he
Okay.
just did a whole magazine takeover. Like
Okay.
I'll keep
Okay.
something like that, and I'll
Yeah.
go back and I'll reference it because
Oh,
everything
wow.
comes back full circle.
Yeah.
And for me, I just want people to always, for the end result, think about it a little bit like, wow, I wouldn't have put it together that way, or oh wow, that is easy, or
Yeah.
yeah, that actually, and fashion it evolves, but it always kind of comes back
Right.
and turns into what you originally saw. But I want to evoke emotion. I want people to feel like inspired.
Yeah.
Um, just as as much as I was inspired by doing it. And
Right. Right. That's so
the last,
it's so interesting hearing you talk about your cognitive process as being so organized when it comes to styling, because I feel like the cliche trope in pop culture is that artists are these sort of like manic, disorganized, messy people that are just sort of like a little like Tasmanian devil, just sort of like spinning around. And your process is like so not that. It sounds like when it comes to styling, you that it's important for you to stay organized, to be organized. And while the environment, there may be a little bit of commotion, like music or stuff going on, but like in your mind, it sounds very methodical. It sounds like very strategic and like thoughtful.
you have to be. I mean, think of when you're working with a client, you want them to feel comfortable. You want them to understand your vision. You want them to get it, and you want to be able to have everything at near you at a moment's notice based on, where you want to evolve it. I mean, you have a starting point, and by the time you get to the ending point, it's probably changed 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, and maybe
Yeah.
it's even gone like what you had originally.
Right.
But the beauty really is in the process, and I think when you're styling and working with a client, it is an art of collaboration. Like I never want someone to feel like the clothes are wearing them. I want people to always feel powerful, unstoppable, like when they walk out the door, you're like, damn. Or
Yeah.
when they're walking down the street, they got like the soundtrack going on in their
Yeah.
head. Like,
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or they're
And they're
walking to the
strutting, they're
subway and on
strutting
a
down
run, right?
the,
And they are
yeah. Yeah.
strutting. You should always feel like that. I don't care if you're going to CVS. I don't care if you're going to the doctor's office, going to meet your boo. Like you should feel like $1,000. And for me, that's the beauty of fashion because fashion is a form of expression for all
Yeah.
of us. You and I always talk about like, oh, jackets, this, that. Oh, I
Yeah.
love your
Yeah.
bag, love your swimsuit. Like it is something that we notice. It's something that inspires us. And I think in
Mm-hmm.
the world we live in today, now more than ever, we need inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And even these forms of escapism. I think that's why fashion weeks are so important, not
Yeah.
only to show you next, but to also help you dream
Yeah.
and to inspire you and to also inspire the next generation to want to be in this industry and to pass the baton and take it forward.
Yeah.
Like life and fashion has to evolve for us to continue to keep that inspiration going.
It's so lovely to hear you talk about the collaboration and styling process as being focused on you wanting the client, the person you're working with, to feel like a million bucks. That there's this process of like, or rather, there's this target you're aiming for, where what you want to bring out of them is the most confident, like grounded, self-assured individual. And in some ways, it reminds me of the therapeutic process where I'm trying to bring out the best in people, or it's not that I'm like trying to bring it out in them. I'm basically, I'm trying to say it's in there, right? Like you are this lovely human being, and I just want to like bring that to the forefront. And it sounds like a similar process where you just want someone to walk out of the room with their head held a little bit higher. You know what I mean? And so that there is this psychological aspect to it as well. It's not just that you're like thinking, okay, I want this silhouette and I want these proportions and I want these colors. It's like, well, I want the person wearing the clothes to feel a particular way. And that really strikes me as fascinating because, you know, as a therapist, that's where I'm like, oh, there's like a heavy psychological component to styling, at least for you. You know what I mean? Do you, is that something that you're like consciously aware of when you're doing it? Or is it something that's more in the back of your head that you're like, I want to make sure the client feels a particular way?
No, it's in the front
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
I think I don't want anyone to leave a room. We're not done until you feel great. Until I and for me, it's important to be honest partner in the process.
Yeah.
Like I always say to anyone that I'm styling or who I work with that, you know, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Like
Yeah.
I want you to feel safe that I'm not gonna see you out the door in something that you know look crazy. No, you are a reflection of me as the person styling you. I'm your partner.
Yeah.
And I want you to feel great. And then I want you to feel inspired. The first thing, it starts with you. You know what I mean? And obviously, if you're doing a campaign, it starts with us because that's a form of collaboration.
Right.
If
It's a relationship. Yeah.
a relationship. If you're styling someone, or even if a friend asks me style advice, listen, if you to ask me if that shirt looks great on you or doesn't, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That is just that's just not only being a professional. I just think people sometimes take for granted that, you know, clothes are that form of expression. And it's, I don't necessarily want to call it like a shield or an armor. I just think it's just it's just like the mood.
I like that. I like that because I mean, not that I think there's anything wrong with seeing fashion or what you're wearing as a form of like armor. That's another conversation I can unpack that some other time, but I love your take on fashion.
We'll come back.
Yeah. But I appreciate your take because it feels more like this is an extension of myself. I am saying something with this. I'm conveying a mood or I'm conveying a vibe. And one of the things that I enjoy about fashion when it's operating at its best is how playful it can be. I tend to really enjoy fashion when it's thoughtful but doesn't take itself too seriously. When it's strategic and meaningful but also a little like whimsical and playful. And it's like I don't think there's anything, you know, wrong with playing dress up. I actually think it's good for us. I think more of us should be playing dress up as adults.
Dress up back.
Yeah. Yes.
Late dinners back.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're New Yorkers. So I have to say this. And, you know, I've lived in New York for 15 years. I am on a mission to bring back late dinners and dressing up.
I love that.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can do them. I always say to people, like, my new term, I always say to my team, I was like, you can do a lot with a little. It's true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And think about it. Like my favorite outfit today, it changes, y'all. T-shirt, a great leather jacket, a pair of jeans, and just like a pair of loafers or a sneaker. I mean, if it fits right and you feel right,
yeah,
and you feel good and you feel good, it's great, right?
I'm sorry to cut you off. I was just going to ask, how would you describe your style? And for everyone listening, you have to go to Randy's Instagram. You'll tell us what it is later. But I've traveled with Randy many, many times, and there's always like a dinner that we have to go to, and all of our travels, there's always like a main dinner, and everyone shows up, and everyone looks cute. Randy's usually one of the last people to show up. No offense, it's okay, it's fine. Usually one of the last people, and he always looks phenomenal. Like. And I want to, you know, to your point, doing a lot with a little. It's not like you're showing up with a ton of accessories or you're not showing up in like a ball gown. You're not showing up in a 3-piece tuxedo. It's not like so much, but it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like simple and chic and timeless yet modern and like
You
yeah,
got it.
and
I
like
mean, I'm
grown
definitely
and like grown up. I never look at you as someone who chases trends. You just like know what you like, you know what looks good, and you stick with it. And you're never like wearing something just because like this is what everyone's wearing now. And it's so fun to watch you like dress up. Anyway, enough fawning over you. How would you
keep going,
describe?
please. Ladies and gentlemen, we need 30 more seconds. Please hold.
How would you describe your style? How would you describe your
No, it's
aesthetic?
funny. It's funny you say. I love that you know me. I don't chase trends. It's just never been my vibe. I mean, I've obviously been inspired by trends that are out
Sure,
there, and if I see something that I love and I connect with it, I'm all about it. Like I
sure.
just saw an article today about all the it bags, and there's one Pedro Pascal had from Chanel that I'm like, oh, okay, that's a dream.
Yeah,
Like fabulous.
yeah,
However, I think for me, I'm definitely like more classic, effortless, Americana, if you will,
yeah.
like a little bit more of a modern take on it. For me, it's all about like I'm definitely in my 80s, 90s bag right now.
Amen. I love it.
I mean, for me, a little bit like a classic menswear oversized shirt, like, and, effortless sweater, something I can even throw over my shoulder, and use as a scarf. For me, it's always great to have a great pair of sunglasses. To me, it just should feel easy. I think that's what's really great about fashion right now is that nothing is tight or too close to the body. It's all about kind of a
Yeah.
fit and play, which kind of goes back to like the 80s and 90s. There's a show out right now. If you haven't watched it, babe, you gotta watch Love Story. It's the
Love
the one
story. Okay.
um show that Ryan Murphy just did.
Okay.
The It goes back to obviously JFK Jr. in the 90s.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know what you're talking about now. Yes, 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 yes.
See like Calvin
Love story.
Klein and how the beauty of the Calvin Klein brand from the 90s and the simplicity of Carolyn Bassett's style and
Yeah.
just what people were wearing on the streets back then. Like if you look on the runways now, that's all back and people are just playing with like again different silhouettes, color, but everything's more like open proportion. I
What do
think
you
to me,
what do you think
I
that
love.
reflects? I'm sorry. Yeah, finish your thought.
Oh no, no, I was just gonna say, and I just think kind of like that mix of vintage too in the mix for me. I love a little mixture of like old and new.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you were talking about where fashion is now in terms of like proportions and fit and it's not like so much skin tight stuff anymore. What do you think that reflects about where we are as a culture? If you had to think about it for a little bit, like, oh, how interesting. Like it's the proportions, the silhouettes, it's a little bit bigger. It's not as close to the body. What do you think, if you had to guess, what do you think that reflects about where we are as a culture, as a people?
I think people just want to feel comfortable
Right?
now,
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
comfort and free. I just think it's also like there's just like an element to surprise. Not everything needs to be overt, right? Or tight. You need
Mm.
to change again.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Leave something to the imagination type of
Yes, it's
thing.
just this natural ease. I think there's a different sexuality that can happen through clothes than
Yeah,
things being over. I
yeah,
think there's a way where it's like one less button that you or just something that feels a little off the shoulder or
yeah,
men's wear not being as layered as what it used to be, or if it is layered, it's a little bit more going back to like the 80s, 90s. Like ties are coming back now, but
yeah.
everything's a little bit more like pointy collar and your grandfather's tie that was wide. No more skinny ties are happening. It's just
Right.
so fun. I was just looking at Todd Snyder's lookbook and I love Todd and what he's done. He's just such a great designer. And it's just, I just love looking at all the lookbooks out there and how like fashion has evolved. But if you even look at his current lookbook, it's just this really beautiful way of taking 80s and 90s nostalgia and wrapping it up into where we are today. So you see that
Mm,
wink and that nod
yeah,
of the past, even like think about like acid 80s wash, 90s wash jeans and how
right.
that's coming back. And of course, I have to pay attention to a lot of this stuff. I
Sure.
mean, it's not like I'm so inspired by it, but it's interesting to see how the fit and proportion of classic items have just change. And I do think there's something to say for people just wanting to feel more comfortable
Yeah.
and ease, whether they're going out or going on vacation.
Right. Right.
Also helps to pack less. I still have a problem packing too much because I'm like,
Amen. Don't get me started on that.
if you travel with me, and I'm going on a long vacation, I will check a bag. I hate to check a bag.
Yeah, yeah. That is totally fair. So, Randy, one question that I ask every guest is, what is one piece of advice or wisdom that you've gotten from the mental health world that you take with you everywhere you go? So this can be something that you've learned from your own therapist. This could be something you read in a book, something you heard on a podcast. But what is one piece of advice that you carry with you that is at the core of who you are?
Let me think. Oh, trust in yourself. Trust in your own inner compass.
The inner compass. Okay.
Let it,
Yeah.
let it,
Yeah.
let it help you lead the way. Little did I know when I've gone on my therapy journey, I, I really realized that in a lot of cases, if I look back on my life, I always had the answers. I was just afraid to
Oh,
step
wow.
into the next phase or
Yeah.
trust my gut. And when your eyes are open and you really realize that with all the hard work, with all the intention, with having great support system and people around you, like yourself in my life, it's just like you can be unstoppable and do it because you have a parachute of people around you to support you. We're all going to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you do with the mistake that is really the spark because
Yeah.
have you learned from it? How's it changed or shifted the direction that you're going?
Mm-hmm.
And with that, and as you gain that experience along the way, you realize that it's about progress. It's not perfection.
Yeah.
Um,
Amen. How?
perfection's not sexy at all. Like
Yeah.
much rather you have bumps and bruises
Right.
along the way, and what have you learned from that? And that is a way sexier conversation to have with someone than it is
For
about
sure.
perfection. Don't, and I think I used to try to seek perfection in my own life. I think
I get that.
I've definitely look in the mirror now and I like the man that stares back at me. And it took me
Yeah.
a long time to see that. And that's what also therapy gave me. But I realized that in a lot of cases I already had the answers that I just didn't quite know what to do with them or trust myself. So trust your inner compass, trust
Yeah.
your gut, be bold and go.
I am so grateful to hear you say that because I cannot tell you how many times I've told clients, I think you already have the answer, or it sounds like you already know what you need to do or what you want to do. So many times I say some variation of that, and it all goes back to this idea of trust your inner compass. I like it won't steer you wrong. And even if you make a mistake or even if you fall flat on your face, I wouldn't even consider that like, oh, that like it steered you wrong anyway. But as long as you are following that inner compass, that part of you that is aligned with your values and aligns your decision making with your values, like as long as you do that, you can always, even when you make a quote unquote mistake, you can always say like, well, I made a decision based on my values, or I made a decision based on my inner compass. And I love this idea that you brought forth, this idea that the answers are already within you. I love that so much because I think that inspires people to do more inner searching and reflecting inward a little bit more, because I agree. I think the vast majority of the time there is already a little voice inside of you telling you like what the quote unquote answer is. How did you develop this strong relationship between like you and your inner compass? Because so many people go against their inner compass all the time, unfortunately. How do you think you got to a point or a place where you are now so aligned with it and listen to it more?
Well, I think therapy definitely helped me with that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
fun fact, guys, Omar helped me find my therapist when I was going through some challenges
Shout
in my
out.
life.
Yeah.
with Omar. Shout out Omar. And, he gave me some names to speed therapy date with. And I now, I now found who I see as a partner on this journey with me and who feels invested in me, and wants to also, help me get to a place that I feel confident that I have the answers and that the answers are right. And in a lot of
Hmm.
cases, I did, and I think the aha moment for me was really taking a moment to just slow down
Yeah.
and reflect. And I think the reflection, there's really a lot of beauty in the reflection because I think when you take that moment to reflect, I don't know what everyone's morning process is. It's also really hard for me sometimes to like wake up and not go back to the grind, but
Yeah.
sometimes you come up, breathe, drink your water, take your vitamins.
Right.
I have a beautiful dog. Shout out Miles Davis, who I love.
Shout
Walking
out
him,
Miles, cutie patootie.
dog in the world. Um, King of Soho. Yeah, he's the best. And I just think like, and then you realize what you're grateful for, and then you lean into what your day is. And even that moment of reflection at the beginning of the day has been a change turning point in my life where it's like,
Mm,
okay, everything that I might put in front of me that seems so insurmountable is not so insurmountable because if
mhm.
I really think about it and look back on every moment of my life, it has worked out and I have figured it out because
Yeah.
I have surrounded myself with a support system through friends, family, my therapist, who believe in me.
Hmm.
And that gives me strength and power to believe in myself. But it starts with you. It starts with me.
Yeah.
Right. And a part of that is what have I learned? How do I take accountability? How do I treat people the way I want to be
Yeah.
treated?
Yeah.
Slow down, breathe, trust the process,
Yeah.
believe in your gut. You got this. Like
Yeah.
you are your own coach.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, like pep talk, like you're your own like hype coach in
You're your own
those.
hype man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for
you're at the
real.
beginning of the concert, you are
Right.
you're your opening act and you are the closing
Yeah,
act. You
that's
know what I
right.
mean?
That's
You
right.
really are. And I think that's what it does start with all of us. I think in a lot of cases, I think it's interesting for my own personal journey. I think in a lot of cases, like I think the turning point in my career for myself was when I got out of my own way and I just
Hmm.
started believing in my talent and what I had to
Hmm.
bring to the table. And I don't want to sit here on this call with you and pretend like I figured that out 10 years ago. I just figured
Yeah,
that out the last few
yeah,
years,
sure,
where
sure.
where I had to stop and reflect and be like, okay, what really matters?
Mm,
I love what I do, but it's not the only thing that makes me who I am. And the
bingo,
fact that I realize that actually makes me better at what I do,
bingo. Yep.
makes me a better friend, eventually a better partner. Y'all, I'm
Yeah.
single,
Yeah.
you know.
Yes, he is, and ready to mingle. Are you still working with I'll maintain his private. Are you still working with Jay as your
I
therapist?
am,
Oh,
I
good.
am.
I
It's the
love him.
best.
I love him so
It's
much.
so
Tell
funny
him I
because
said
like
hi.
I will, what I love that my therapist guys taught me is the change triangle.
No,
And
what's the change
I,
triangle?
my
Wait,
God, so
I'm gonna write this
it's
down.
so look it up. It's, when you have moments of like anxiety or fear or defense, and you're up here with these sense of emotions, it's like, how do you utilize that to calm you down and bring you to a sense of like,
Oh,
very
interesting.
curious about how you're feeling, and then it gets you to like a sense of confidence. I think there's like 5 or 6 C's. I'm sure I'm missing one of them.
Okay.
Like I'm always like,
Okay.
and I feel like when he shows it to me, I screenshot it, and then I have, but guys, I am a creative. I take pictures of everything, so I'm like, where the
Right.
and I was like, can you send that to me again? Because I need to look at it. Right? It's just like a sense of calm, and I am definitely a cliche creative person. Like I just get like, okay, I want to figure this out. And I don't know, I've just stopped searching and looking for perfection in my life. I love that my friends are perfectly imperfect like
Yeah.
yourselves. Like they're all kind of no one No
We're all
one
like a
boasts.
little messy. We're all like a
And
tiny
I
bit,
love
like
that.
in a
And it
fun way,
works.
like a little fun, just a tiny bit. Yeah, our
That's,
friend group.
that's
Yeah.
right. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah,
we're all so different, but it
yeah,
works.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just think that's the beauty of life, and we all bring something to the table. And I enjoy that. I think my circle, you know me, I'm definitely a person who loves to be in the mix
Hmm.
with people,
Hmm.
new people, but like definitely having my friends that I am close with are like my family.
Hmm.
And you know, my because my family's back in Ohio, so to have people surrounded me that I feel safe and seen and that are a part of my life and who cheer me on. I mean, we all need that. So, you
For
know,
sure.
find your tribe. You know,
Yeah. Find your
you can't
cheering
do it
section,
alone.
like find the people that root for you. Yeah. Yeah, that's so important because we cannot do this alone. We weren't built for that at all. Thank you so much, Randy. This has been such a delight, as I knew it was going to be. If people wanted to follow your work, where can they find you?
Follow, like, subscribe. No, I'm just kidding.
Smash that
uh,
like button. Yeah.
for 20% off. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. No, guys, you can find me at Cousin Randy. That's COUSINRANDY. Cousin Randy. Yes, my last name is Cousin.
That's
I didn't
right.
make it,
It's
but
not a bit. It's not a
or
bit.
call me Cousin Randy. Miss
There we
Jackson. Yeah.
go. Guys, you are going to want to check out his work. It's just like just some of the most beautiful art and styling and clothing and fashion that you ever seen. And again, I just like love your eye. I love your aesthetic. And it is so fun and exciting to see you succeed and to see you do well and to see you take these big swings and be so successful at them. And it's just like, it's like so fun to be not just your friend, but to be a fan of your work. It's such a delight. So thank you so much. I really
I love you
appreciate it.
so much, and thank you for saying that. This has been so fun. I could talk to you for. We've been talking for a
Yeah,
while.
it's like an
I
hour and a
didn't
half. Yeah.
realize it.
Yeah.
I kind of sat back in the
I know.
chair,
You took your
took my
sweater
sweater
off. I'm
off,
like,
and
oh,
put
she's
it.
getting comfortable.
I kind of changed my outfit.
Yeah.
Took my sweater, restyled myself. All right, I
Oh,
love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much. So, if you like today's episode, if you want to support my work in any way, I have to say this, but please go and rate the podcast 5 stars, please. I had no idea, but the more 5-star ratings I get, the more that Apple Podcasts like pushes my podcast out there for other people to find. So if you want to support my work, I'm not asking for a subscription or to pay for anything. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But if you want to support my work, please rate and review. That would be super helpful. And as you know, I am a therapist, but this podcast is no substitute for good old-fashioned therapy. So take what's useful, leave the rest. And don't forget, therapy makes you hotter. Bye.